Coming to you live from our studios in Belize City, this is the evening news on Love Television for Tuesday, August 2nd. We'll get you started with a look at the stories making the headlines for today. Tropical storm Earl forecasted to make landfall in Belize late Wednesday. SEMO official speaks of ongoing preparations. Ladyville resident dies in Monday night road traffic mishap. The BPP and PUP condemns changes to the cabinet. Attorney Richard Dickie Bradley talks William Mason and Mark. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, declared Phase 2 today after Tropical Earl formed earlier today. A tropical storm warning or hurricane watch is in effect for Belize. We get an update from forecaster Derek Rudan.
On the present tracks, Tropical Storm Earl is expected to be very near Belize late Wednesday night or early Thursday. We are expecting the weather to deteriorate during the day tomorrow and tropical storm conditions to affect the country tomorrow evening and night. At 3 p.m., it was located near 16.4 degrees north, 81.5 west, or about 450 miles east of Belize City. It will make landfall somewhere in Belize. That's a projection. It looks like just maybe northern portion of Belize or central to northern portion. Tomorrow night, at present, we're expecting 8 to 12 inches of rainfall with the system. At the moment, it's a storm with maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour. They are expecting it to strengthen a bit and become a strong tropical storm or possibly even a minimum hurricane.
As Tropical Storm Earl approaches, the Belize City Council is making preparations to ensure the safety of citizens and property. Councillor Philip Willoughby, who is in charge of City Emergency Management Organization, Flood Mitigation and Climate Change, spoke with Love News about the efforts they are undertaking.
We have been activated since yesterday. I believe we have done what we've needed to be done. I believe not to say that we've gone beyond the call of duty, but we have done so in many regards. We visited the flood-prone and or low-lying areas across the city, the Genosha Boulevard area, the Crewman Lagoon area, the Gongolong area, and the Belamas Phase 3 and 4. What we have done, we've given out flyers indicating to residents to please pay attention to the weather, stay tuned to the local forecasts that are being issued via advisory to the respective media houses from NEMO and the Met Office. We've advised the residents again through this medium to look at your surroundings, ensure that your yards are clean, there's no debris around that can be turned into a missile or projectile. If your trees or plants or vegetation needs pruning or manicure or to be limbed, please do so now. You have sufficient time to get that done. You know what your house can withstand in terms of wind or rain. And if you know you are one of those vulnerable homeowners, ensure that you turn off your switch before leaving home. Ensure that you cover all the important documents, so forth. Use the heavy-duty garbage bag. Ensure it is sealed.
Belize City residents can still recall the effects of last year's floods. Willoughby spoke about the efforts they have been doing in flood-prone areas to encourage citizens to take precautions and move to shelters while it is still early.
We've put out our teams on the north side of the city to do a comprehensive or actual general sweep to pick up and clean up. And we'll do so tomorrow and hope we complete that by midday, walking through to picking up and cleaning up the city. In particular now going to that Crewman Lagoon area, that is a situation on its own. We hope that the PR that we have done since yesterday morning, last night, and again this morning I went back to ensure that the residents behind there, because there's about 250, somewhere between there and 300 homes behind here. And maybe if you average out a household, maybe that 3 to 5 people. So you could imagine how many people are behind here. Um, the electrical network is another concern. You may recall that we had to put the government's assets in clear and present danger in the last flood. The Coast Guard, the BDF had to put their boats in there to evacuate people because they didn't want to do it voluntarily. So I hope that all that work pays dividends and that the residents has listened in these low-lying and flood-prone areas as we get closer to the storm making what is quite likely and possible landfall sometime tomorrow evening into Thursday morning.
Willoughby listed all the shelters that have been prepared for residents to be safe during tropical system, Earl.
Since then, likewise, been preparing the shelters. So at this moment, I believe we should be concluding the preparation of all shelters to be utilized when we get the green light in our deliberations with NEMO. That is our goal. So outside we have St. John's Vianney Primary School. We have the Mad Williams High School. We have Queen Square Primary School. We have Unity Presbyterian Primary School. We have St. Martin de Porres Primary School. We have St. Luke Methodist Primary School. We have Grace Primary School. We have Salvation Army. We have Palote High School. We have the IT Vet Engineering buildings to the back, the UB building, engineering building. We have All Saints Primary School, Trinity Methodist Schools, and we have also in our reserves, if needs be, we got UB Teachers College.
Willoughby stated that as soon as they receive the green light from the National Emergency Management Organization to start moving residents into shelters, they will do so. Authorities in the Toledo District have also been very active, as we hear in this report that was filed earlier today by correspondent Paul Mahung.
NEMO Toledo members and the NEMO District Coordinator Kenton Parham have been in planning and preparation sessions. NEMO Toledo Coordinator Kenton Parham advises the general public in Punta Gorda and Toledo rural communities to remain alert and stay in tune to their radio or TV updates for official NEMO advisories related to Tropical Storm Earl.
We have been actively trying to inform our communities and especially the flood-prone area and coastal villages. We have made contact with all of them, and they are doing their own preparations in regards to this storm coming. We today will be focusing probably on the coastal areas, Punta Negra especially. That is one of our vulnerable communities there, and we'll be looking at an evacuation for them within today now, depending on how fast this thing is moving towards us. All the river monitors we have in place are alert. They're, monitoring the rivers. At this time, everything is low and normal, and we haven't had any rains in the last day or so. But when this system begins to impact us, our monitors are ready, and our chairman in these flood-prone areas are also ready, and they have been calling and wanting information. But it's a good sign because they're aware of it and they are, being prepared. Like I said, the emergency center will remain operational 24/7 to respond to any incident that might occur as a result of this tropical wave. Our flood-prone communities, mainly Blue Creek, Jordan, Crickesarco, Golden Stream, Tryon, these areas have all been contacted and they're all on alert. So.
And your contact numbers?
The contact number is 702-2354. That's the office number. Cell phone is 630-9787 and also 664-6603. So those are the numbers, and like I said, we remain activated. So the office number, there's somebody always sitting here at the phone. So,
reporting for Love News, Paul Mahone, Gorra.
A gruesome accident left a 27-year-old dead last night. Around 7 o'clock, a white SUV being driven by Leverett Loriano flipped on the Philip Colton Highway around mile 4 in front of Diamonds Motel. Deputy officer in charge of the Precinct 4 Police Station, Assistant Superintendent of Police Francisco Ack, gave us the details of this accident.
On the Monday, 1st August 2016, around 6:50 in the evening, police responded to information of a road traffic accident between mile 4 and 5 on the Philip Golson Highway. Upon arrival, police observed a white in color van on the left-hand side of the highway when traveling towards Ladyville. And further investigation indicated that there was the body of a male person underneath the said white van. So with the assistance of the fire department, they were able to remove the body from underneath the vehicle. And the body was later identified to be Leverett Loriano, a 27-year-old mechanic of Ladyville Village. Investigation so far indicated that Loriano was traveling in his van by himself towards Ladyville when he lost control of the said vehicle and overturned and ran into a pine tree that was nearby, which caused him to flung out of the vehicle onto the ground, and when the vehicle collided into the pine tree, the vehicle landed on him, which apparently caused his fatal injury.
Eyewitness Lionel Villanueva was driving behind Loriano on the highway. He described the shocking scene that he witnessed.
That's why he made it go too fast, that's why the vehicle got damaged, right? And then he flew out of the vehicle when the vehicle hit the mud. And then we made try to get out, and I'm right in front of it when it happened, right? And then we made try to get out, but the chest me, well, the whole half of the body me stuck underneath of the engine. And then the next foot me stuck on the passenger's front wheel. So we couldn't have me move any at all. So we had to wait to make people come for help, you know. We may call, my co-worker called 911 as we stopped, because when I see it happen, I tell them that the accident, because we see where Bale he couldn't bring it back, right? Because he don't lose control. When I stopped, because I stopped right in front of her, as soon as he finish happening, when I stopped, I made a look for her, but I never see no driver inside of the vehicle. But I may say maybe if I like in the motor or something on the side, but when I reach, he stretch out the hand and he start telling me and tell me help me. So I'm like going to pull her out with my hand, and then he say he stop. Then after that, like he start mumbling a lot, and he asked for help again. But then I feel the pulse and he still made the beat. And then after that, the pulse gone.
According to Villanueva, Loriano was alive for about 5 minutes after the accident, but died on the highway. ASP Ack stated that speeding was the main cause of this accident. His body is at the Carl Kushner Memorial Hospital awaiting a post-mortem examination. William Mason seems to have started an avalanche that slowly gathered momentum and has today placed several persons in the spotlight, particularly so the former Minister of National Security, John Sal Diva. The avalanche did gather enough strength to prompt the Prime Minister to do some adjustments to Sal Diva's portfolio. Prime Minister's move, however, did not come without criticism. The Belize Progressive Party sent out a release saying that they have viewed the cabinet changes with great contempt. The document states, quote, "Although not unforeseen, it is an affront to the people of this nation, for amid the ever-increasing levels of crime, criminality, and all-out corruption at the highest levels of government, its head, the PM, remains dogged in his instance to provide only cosmetic changes to what is an out-of-control matter of epic proportions. The Belize Progressive Party highlights the fact that following this third consecutive victory at the polls this past November, the PM still refuses to do the right thing and sign the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC. The problems with plague our nation derive from the institutionalized, systematic corruption that is encouraged, facilitated, and enjoyed by the PUPD. That is why his band-aid approach of shuffling ministries among his inner circle, instead of taking definitive steps by sacking those whose integrity have been called into question, comes as no surprise. In keeping par for the course of the tyrannical situation his mismanagement has caused, the PM is banking on Belizeans to blindly accept any and everything the government says without question. The abject failure of the Barrow administration and the equally lackluster embodiment of Her Majesty's loyal opposition, the PUP, amid these perilous times is testimony to the symbiotic relationship the two sides of the political non-divide have shared during the past 34-plus years in what has proven the bane and retardation of Belize's progressive development. Given the dire situation involving citizen security, the instability of our economy, neglect of the productive sector, rising poverty, financial distress, the out-of-control foreign debt obligations, and the ongoing existential threat to our territorial integrity posed by Guatemala, your Belize Progressive Party calls on Belizeans and true friends of Belize, both at home and abroad, to express your displeasure with the PM's failure to act accordingly. To this end, your Belize Progressive Party, the BPP, demands that the Prime Minister signs the UN Convention Against Corruption immediately and set up the autonomous investigative body for corruption cases, which is expected under the convention. That he immediately appoints an integrity commission and demands all elected persons disclose their finances retroactive from the time they were elected to office in accordance with the Prevention of Corruption Act, and the institute with urgency an independent investigation into the heinous murder of Pastor Llewellyn Lucas. End of quote. The cabinet adjustments see Attorney General Vanessa Rutridge being given added responsibilities for the Ministry of Natural Resources, while Minister Godwin Hulse will take on the Belize Police Department, while retaining immigration and nationality. Sal Diva remains with the responsibility for the Belize Defense Force and Belize Coast Guard. A toin for amid the ever-increasing levels of crime and criminality and all-out corruption at the highest levels of government, its head, the PM, remains dogged in his insistence to provide only cosmetic changes. While the Belize Progressive Party has viewed with contempt the recent changes to the cabinet, the People's United Party has also issued a statement saying that the Prime Minister has attempted to hoodwink the Belizean people by doing minor adjustments to the cabinet to give off the perception that he is acting in the interest of justice and the people. The release reads in part, quote, Mr. Barrow seems to be unduly enamored of the word optics, using it frequently in past weeks, and that is exactly what this reshuffle is, optics. The PUP believes that at the very least the confirmed relationship between John Sal Diva and William Mason, one which resulted in money changing hands, should have been the subject of an intensive, objective investigation. The relationship between other cabinet members and William Mason, again confirmed, should have been the result of an intensive, objective investigation. The relationship between high-ranking members of the Belize Police Department and William Mason, confirmed, should have been the subject of an intensive, objective investigation. Instead, Sal Diva has been given a tiny token slap on the wrist, if that, and the Prime Minister has in effect declared that to be the end of that. Not one of the other cabinet ministers who had a relationship, including Deputy Prime Minister Patrick Faber, has been touched. Mr. Barrow has further declared that the Belize Police Department has the investigation into William Mason well in hand, and he is satisfied with their handling of the matter. In the same breath that he states that Mason was very close to members of said police department. Information continues to emerge from the Mason detention, which demonstrates beyond any reasonable doubt that William Mason maintained a very close relationship with former Minister of National Security John Sal Diva and members of the police department close to Sal Diva, particularly the Special Patrol Unit. Information has also emerged which indicates that certain elements of the investigation have been manipulated to protect Sal Diva and persons close to him. We feel that the so-called reshuffle is no more than a move by the Prime Minister to appoint unelected persons loyal only to him to various strategic positions within government. Clearly, judging by the non-performance of the Senator Godwin Halls, this has not worked in the favor of Belizeans. Vanessa Retreat will be no different, just another Barrow loyalist who, like Halls, owes no loyalty to the Belizean people because they are unelected. The PUP calls on Prime Minister Dean Barrow to deviate from his trademark, all glitter and no substance style. This cannot be about optics. The Belizean people demand more than just optics. The only way to ensure an impartial and proper investigation is to ask for assistance from our international partners. If the Prime Minister, as he has indicated, refuses to do this, it will be because he does not want the truth to come out. That truth, as we understand it, could destroy his administration. End of quote. Last week, we brought you an interview with Richard Dickie Bradley where he aired several allegations reportedly made by William Mason. Yesterday, whilst we were at the Outback Farm at Mile 31 on the George Price Highway, we met up with Mason's attorney, Herbert Panton, who told Love News that Bradley is not authorized to speak on behalf of his client and that there is no credence to what Bradley has said about Mason. Today, we had the chance to have attorney Bradley respond to Panton's statements.
Liars don't quarrel among themselves. We belong to a lodge. Mr. Mason spoke at length to Mark Flowers, and the things that were said, had Mark Flowers had that information before he was in fact arraigned, as they call it, but before he was actually taken into the police station to be charged, that would have been another story.
Bradley is attorney for Mark Flowers, while Panton is the defense for William Mason. Despite Panton's comments of Richard Dickie Bradley's statements made on the Mason case having no weight, Bradley went on to speak to Love News on other allegations that Mason has mentioned, including the nude photo of a government official that circulated some months ago, which he says was taken in his home.
He has said a number of other things. For example, he was saying within one day, a minister of government brought some applications for a firearm, and before the day was out, he had his license, which is highly irregular and highly unusual because there has to be a special vetting of a person who is applying for a firearm. Where will the firearm be stored for safety purposes? How familiar are you with firearms? Can you dismantle a gun? Can you shoot? There are a whole heap of things that needs to be done first before anybody can get a license. And it was taken to him by a minister of government and brought back on the same day by a minister of government. He has said that a photograph which is circulating around, which all police officers seem to have on their phone, a naked picture, that picture was taken in his house in one of his beds. And his domestic workers can bear that out for a number of factual reasons, in addition to whatever other reasons those people who work there can say. He has said ministers have been in and out of his house, having parties and all kinds of other information. That man is loaded with information. They are allegations, but they are things that any government will want to hear and carry out an investigation in relation to what he's saying.
Bradley went on to speak on the comments being made by government ministers and officials who are now saying that they had gone to Mason's home but didn't know of his history or his current situation.
You now know, because it is the news that the Deputy Prime Minister is admitting he met Mr. Williams on 2 occasions. Of course, all of them will say when we met him it was all innocent, we didn't know he was who he was and so on. But Belize have a security force, which in fact goes around, snooping around, listen to people's telephone conversation, reading their email, checking out the names of persons who come into cross our border points, and do a certain amount of check, otherwise terrorists can come into our country and hurt our good friend the Americans. So there is a security system in place, and how come they couldn't pick up none of this? None of this was on the radar, that somebody was allegedly buying influence, passing large sums of monies to somebody who they knew nothing about. They did not make any report, they didn't ask for any check.
During his time in Belize, Mason has amassed numerous friendships, and out of those friendships there were favors done and easy access to firearm and ammunition. Bradley spoke of this among other things.
He has a large pool of information. That was his business. He was in the business of influencing people in high places. He has given Mark Flowers the names of high-ranking officers who were in and out of his property. He has given Mark Flowers information that a large quantity of ammunition was either sold or given to him. And of course, he in turn gave monies as either a gift or as a payment for that. It came from the police. Mark is the man. He's not named Mark by any sheer coincidence. Mark is the man who has that information from Mr. Mason.
Love News also learned of a video surveillance available that was taken in a public place and would show the exchange of money with a government minister. We will keep following this story. So those are the allegations that Mason has reportedly made and is now being reported by attorney Richard Dickie Bradley. But aside from those charges being made by Mason, there is the issue of video surveillance at the farm and at the home on Intelco Hill, which would undoubtedly incriminate over a dozen of senior police officials and government members as well.
Mr. Mason has learned that the police, in their search of his property, confiscated his tape recordings. He had cameras all over his property, inside and outside. And he says that on those videotapes are ministers in his house on several occasions. So now the media need to go and find out, because that has nothing to do with the charges that are brought against Mr. Mason. The investigation into Mr. Mason's alleged wrongdoings and criminality are basically closed. He has been charged. The head was found from the beginning. The body is allegedly found. They have beaten one of the accused persons so that he was forced to sign a confession, which probably will not hold up. Panton will deal with that in the trial. So that investigation is basically closed. That's not the investigation Belize people want to hear about. They want to hear about the real investigation. And Mark Flowers and Mason has the information.
To date, there has been no mention of other surveillance found at the home other than the one that police says clearly shows some of what really occurred on Friday, July 15, 2016, hours leading up to the beheading of Pastor Llewellyn Lucas. In a press conference held last Friday at the Biltmore Plaza Hotel with Prime Minister Dean Barrow, he made it clear that he would not entertain any meeting with William Mason. Prime Minister Barrow, however, did not strike down the idea of meeting with Mark Flowers. Bradley spoke of why the meeting between Barrow and Flowers would be crucial.
Listen, the Prime Minister is correct. It would be highly improper for him to have any conversation with Mr. Mason. But there are procedures where a Prime Minister needs to get information. Mr. Mason does not no longer trust the police high command to give them that kind of information. And that is why he was making that kind of remark to Mark Flowers, that this information I would like to reach the Prime Minister or the Deputy Prime Minister. Well, it's not fair to the Deputy Prime Minister because he is in a rivalry with the Minister of Defense, former Minister of Police. And I would suspect that some of the information would be further damaging to the Minister of Defense. And those are things that really belong in the hands of some independent investigators, so they can sift through and provide that information.
Love News has received unconfirmed reports that the meeting between the Prime Minister and the former GSU commander Mark Flowers has already occurred. Our thought conditioner for today is from Paulo Coelho. It reads, quote, "Whenever you want to achieve something, keep your eyes open. Concentrate and make sure you know exactly what it is that you want. No one can hit their target with their eyes closed." This has been the Evening News on Love Television. We invite you to log on to our website at www.lovefm.com for transcripts of our news stories. We thank you for joining us and thank you for watching. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. I am Taryn Butcher.